بإسلامي وإيماني أضاء الكون وزمن
Remember, I had a brother who got in
بإسلامي
trouble in school, and community
وإيماني
came and rallied to his
أضاء
support and helped to get him out of a situation that could have had him out of school forever.
Yeah.
This wasn't anything that my parents just 100% was at the helm of guiding that process. This was other people who kind of stepped in and was like, no, there was some injustice done. Let me help get you support.
Yeah.
So for me, it's important that families have to understand that you can't live in isolation and that you have to be connected to community.
Yeah.
Because in your community, there's brilliant people who have different skill sets that
Yeah.
are probably going to be able to complement your child's experience.
Yeah. What are the risks if I fail in academics?
Ooh,
What's that risk?
there's a lot of devices out there, and we're living in a cyber world right now.
Yeah.
And kids are doing a lot of wild stuff online, and it's sad, but that's the reality of the situation.
Yeah.
So that's one negative draw, and then I would say, some of these girls. I mean, I don't care where you at. SubhanAllah, you go outside and girls are half naked, and that's the reality of the situation. We're men, and I feel we can discuss this stuff, and hopefully somebody will benefit from this talk. But for a young guy, 16 years old, that has been told you're not supposed to be having girlfriends, you're not supposed to be at the mall by yourself or whatever, what you think he's going to do if we don't provide these tournaments?
Right.
And provide these quiz bowls or whatever we're doing, Quran time competitions. What do you think they're going to be doing?
Right.
Chasing these girls at the mall, at the bowling alley, or wherever they're at, chasing the girls. Because why? They're not clothed properly. All right? And that's the reality of the situation. That's why I love Abu Bakr Siddiq community, because on the 15th, they're going to start that national Quran competition. Yeah. And it's over 400 or 500 students. You know about this.
Carmel, right?
Carmel.
Yeah.
That they're going to bring all these kids up. And subhanAllah, when you hear them recite, it just brings tears to your eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, it touches your heart. That's what Quran does when somebody is reciting it pure. And with the tajweed and everything, subhanAllah.
It's on a different level.
Oh, my God. So, to me, that's moving, because look what they're doing. And shout out to Abdel Nasser and all the sheikhs that are over there teaching Quran. This is something that's highly recommended in Islam, to teach your kids Quran. But when they brought those kids to me and said they want basketball, teach them basketball, I was like dumbfounded, like they done memorized the Quran 3 times. They don't need me. I mean, they was like, nah, teach them basketball. So when they came in there like 50 strong, it was like, man, put them on teams and do what you was doing when we saw you online. I was moved by that.
Yeah.
SubhanAllah. That touched my heart, because it's like they're looking for that balance, what we've been talking about today.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And those brothers, Saeed, all those guys that was teaching them, SubhanAllah, shout out to Saeed from Egypt, and he's at Al-Azhar University.
Yeah.
And this guy comes home and goes right to work. And not only that, and teaching the adults after Fajr.
Yeah.
This guy 22 years old, 21 years old.
Yeah.
SubhanAllah. And that makes me like look at myself like, am I really trying to emulate the Prophet? Am I doing enough? I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing nothing really. I haven't scratched the surface. So again, to get back at what you're saying, find the balance. Trying to align that stuff. Make sure that these kids are getting that proper balance, and go from there.
Yeah. Definitely. So now we're getting into our last section, the struggle. This is where it begins right here. Balancing between Deen, sports, and academics. So let's tackle sports first. Does sports affect one's Deen? Brother Qasim. You tackled it at the beginning.
Does the sports affect the Deen, or the Deen affect the sport?
Both, back and forth.
Hopefully it's the other way around, that your Deen is affected the sports. But no, I think there can be some interplay in between the two, because there's so many conceptual commonalities.
Yeah.
We already touched on some of them, which is like the self-discipline.
Yeah.
Either you're going to set the alarm clock to wake you up for Fajr, or you're going to get up on your own.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Either the coach is going to have to call you to get you out of bed to come run the sprints, or you're going to get up and do it on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of intersection and interplay between those things. The mental discipline. People, we just finished Ramadan, so there's a mental discipline that goes along with that. In sports, it's the same dynamic. There's a mental discipline. When you get out there, you see it on TV all the time, man. People get talked out of their game. Football, basketball, people get talked out of their game because psychologically they're not as equipped as they are physically. And so it's the same. Right, it's the same dynamic.
Time out. That was a golden statement. Too much money for us, man. Too much money.
Man, that's a Draymond timeout. Get him back on track. Bring him in. Bring him back in.
Right.
Kicking people all in the groin.
Right. So no, I mean, there's some interplay. It's hopefully that they're both, there's some back and forth interplay with the two.
Yeah, definitely. What about sports environments, Coach? We'll get you at that. Sports environments.
Sports environment.
Does it create more positive influence on Deen, or sometimes it has shortcomings?
You know what? As long as it's positive, and like the brother said, it's going to be competitive.
Yeah.
And it has to be some structure to it, because we know too much of one thing creates a bad thing.
Yeah.
So you sitting there, doing video games. Now that hour turns into 3 hours, and 3 hours turns into 6 hours, and we know how they get it in with the 2K.
Yeah.
That's one of the things they do, because I'm with these boys all the time, and they'll leave the gym saying, "Come on, man, we're going to your house. 2K, I'm playing you tournament." SubhanAllah. I mean, and we have 2K at the masjid.
Yeah.
So we have to be careful, because too much of one thing is what we call overdose.
Yeah.
And again, this is the Sheikh's field, but I don't want to dabble too much with that. But you drink too much of the khamr, it's a problem. And we know that's the khamr in Islam is the mother of all sin.
Yep.
And we don't want to fool with that. So too much 2K, too much 3-on-3, watching 5-on-5, or watching San Antonio, or whoever you're watching, Warriors, that's too much.
It's too much.
Even for myself, and including ourselves first as adults, because we are the vanguard, we're the leaders. And so we have to show the youth how to do it right. So what I do, if I do want to watch it, I hit the DVR. I hit the DVR so it'll record by itself, and whenever I have a free moment, I watch, a little bit of it then.
The next 10 minutes.
Yeah, while I'm cooking or cleaning or whatever, I'll turn it on then. But I'm not going to sit around and watch Jerry Springer for 10 hours. It doesn't make sense. Too much of one thing.
Yeah.
Not a good thing. So we just got to be careful with that.
So if somebody says, I can only do one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Deen or sports?
Yeah.
What does that mean? How do we approach that type of person?
To me, I think that a person saying that, that's a person who probably needs a lot of support.
Yeah.
Not in the sense of like that they're incapable of doing it, but probably they haven't seen anybody doing it.
Yeah.
As a child, we keep talking about this in the context of these children, in the context of families. If all I see my dad do is get up and go to work and then come home, I saw somebody who did one thing at a time. You know what I mean? If I didn't see my dad actively go to work, then come home and parent me, be involved with me as a parent. The brother just said, when I'm cooking and cleaning, I'm a DVR.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen your father doing these things, or you have a mother who's only doing one thing at a time, then again, it makes it that's the model that you grew up under. And for us, the beautiful part of like being a Muslim is that, number one, we have tons of models to look at. Like, when we're in the masajid and we're studying like the lives of the prophets, and when we're studying the Sahaba, like, don't just try to focus in on one. Get a little bit of all of it, because every person's reality is connected to those individuals. And that's why I kept saying like African American Muslim, Black Muslim. I have to say that, because to not say that means to miss out on some important details around who I am. At certain points in time, some of the Sahaba made hijrah early. Why? Because they was the Abyssinians. You know what I mean? They didn't have the same protection as the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They didn't have that same protection. They was like, we gotta get up out of here. We not under the same. We not under this. It's not fair play.
That's true.
We gotta leave up out of here. Like our persecution is gonna be different, and it's gonna happen. Based on who we are, our cultural identities.
Yep.
And so for us, we gotta be able to see that. For me, I grew up in communities where I seen, men who went to work, men who ran their own businesses, but also came home, cooked dinner, played with their kids. They were multifaceted. So for me to see, like, I grew up with parents, like my father played football, baseball, basketball, and was great at all of them. And so for me, just the one thing, that's not even a paradigm for me.
Yeah.
Just the one thing at a time. But I can understand a child who's saying, I can only do one thing at a time, likely because that's the model that they saw. I saw the only person doing one thing at a time. So it becomes important now for us in our family systems to become exposed to the larger Muslim community. Yeah. Because in the larger Muslim community, you will see that. But if you're only living within your small family dynamic and maybe even the small community dynamic, you might only see people doing one thing at a time. This person was, grew up in this family. He lived in the masjid the whole time, never went outside the masjid, learned the Quran, memorized the Quran, then became chef. It's like, okay, that's cool. But then you're missing the other group of, you're missing a lot of the community because that's only one track. And that track is beautiful for the person who that fits for. Yeah. But now you're going to have a lot of children who don't fall into that track. And so now you have to have people who are touching them with the sports, people who are touching them with the arts, and people who are touching them with different pieces and say, nah, like, we Muslim. We're going to, of course, like, we finna pray Salat, and we're finna go, do this podcast. Yeah. Yeah, we gonna, we're gonna fast, and we still gonna play sports. Yeah. You have to have somebody who shows it to them and makes it tangible.
Definitely. Next piece. If I'm not good at school, but I'm a great athlete, what else do you want from me? Coach, what else? What else do you want from me?
I hear you, Chef. SubhanAllah. Again, go back dua, and then again, going back to what the brother had mentioned earlier, you got to look at your resources within the school. Yeah. And know your school and what the school has to offer. So looking at the school, so you got counselors. You have, like in our school, we have a program called Sankofa, which is a huge reading support base. Wow. And it's geared towards African Americans. But they take anybody. If the African Americans don't come, then come on, we take anybody. Yeah. But it's geared towards the African Americans or people of color. A cultural wellness center via Wilder Foundation, and they have tons of money. In fact, I'm doing a program with them now. Every day at Maxfield Elementary School, we do basketball from 12 to 2. Nice. And I have girls and boys in there. They have like anywhere from 25 to 30 kids. Nice. And we're just doing skill builders. So that's something that they offer that year round, academic support, and they do athletics as well, cheerleading, the whole name, everything. So in the morning now for summer school, they do math, English, science, and then they do a little short break, and then they do lunch, and then I get them, and then they do a structured outside activity on Friday. So I'm off today, and then they do field trips, whatever, the science museum, all that stuff. Yeah. So there's different things that are out there, EDL, after school program, freedom schools. So there's so much that it's incredible. So if somebody comes to the system now and says, man, I don't know nothing, and I ain't did nothing, then that's on you. Yeah. Okay? Because again, the first teachers are at home, and they should be pushing these resources that are free at the school. Yeah. And I just gave you 3, 4. And then one more I want to offer too. When we had talked about setting our kids up for success academically at the high school level, there's a fraternity, a black African American fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha, and I think the brother's name is Dr. Ernest Davenport. He's at the University of Minnesota. They offered, my daughter went through it, wallahi, and he has a 110% success rate. And I say 110 because you have to be an idiot not to succeed. It's ACT prep course at the University of Minnesota, nice. And he offers it to minorities, and it's free. But do we take advantage of this? No, we sleep on it. Right. For some reason, we don't take full advantage of it. And he's been doing it for years. I want to say almost like 15, 20 years now. But the community don't know about this resource. And now, of course, he's got a little link on his website, but the word of mouth should be like going around crazy. Because why? Kaplan's, you get on their website, they charge you $700. Oh, yeah. And this brother's doing it for free. See? So we got to take advantage of the resources that are around us. And sometimes they're right there in front of us. And we trip over them sometimes, but we don't know what it is. Right. SubhanAllah. And that's bad on us. That's definitely. Because over 1,400 years ago, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he put things out there that are good for us, and we still don't take advantage of it. You see? Like everything in the sea is edible for us. We can eat it. But what do we say? Oh, no, man, that's going to make my skin scaly. Where are you getting this from, Shah? SubhanAllah. Astaghfirullah.
Let's look at the opposite side. Yeah. I only care about academics. Yeah. Stop telling me about all this stuff. I only care about academics. Yeah. What is that person losing out on?
I mean, they're missing out on just, being able to be multifaceted. There's to focus in on one thing is great, because I believe in becoming, beyond proficient and being a person who has mastery in whatever skill thing that you're doing. But to me, it's limiting to think that that's the only, that you have to only focus in on that one thing. So to me, if you focus in on academics, that's great, that's fine, that's wonderful. But to not involve yourself in other things, number one, it means to, at the end of your day, to remove yourself from the amount of reach that you're able to have. The brother just said, he gave his report of saying, okay, Northside, basketball, my background, coaching, University of Minnesota. He gave you different pieces, and that means that I can reach different types of kids. He's not going to be able to, there's certain kids that he can reach because of his upbringing in the north side of Minneapolis. You know what I mean? Like, that dynamic creates, you respond to that because you grew up in it, which means I understand it. I can relate to the kids who are now coming up in a similar dynamic. So all of these things, you're missing out on it when you only focusing on one thing, regardless of what it is. It can not just be academics. When you're focusing on that, you're missing the reach that who you're able to reach based on that limited experience.
Okay, so deeper connection. Coach, if somebody puts aside Deen and only focus on academics and sports, what's at heart?
You're limiting yourself. Like the brother said, you should be able to multitask and do a lot of things, but to put the Deen aside, you are limiting yourself. And again, it's like a tree. You plant a small plant and you expect that tree to kind of grow. And you're going to water it, but this tree's not getting any water, it's not getting no sunshine, no nothing. And we all know with the Deen, I mean, that's everything. That's our way of life. So it's, and now we've planted this so-called bush or tree or whatever, and it's dying. Yeah. It's not elevating at all. So you got to have that nourishment. You got to have that water and that sunshine, the whole nine. And my mother even used to talk to her plants. She used to do the whole nine. Right. She used to put mayonnaise on the sleeves, on the little leaves. And everybody used to come in our house back in the day and be like, "Yo, man, where did she get this? I mean, how's it all beaming like that?" Right. But she used to talk to them and put them on the sun porch. Yeah. I mean, she used to go hard with the plants. But I see the whole thing now, in terms of, like, even when you raise your kids, you have to put so much into it. Like, my daughter just got her master's 4 weeks ago, and that was like a joyous occasion. Like, we made it a big deal. Yeah. But she was all like, "Yeah, it's nothing. I'm going for the PhD now." Like, I want to be the principal, but I got to do certain things because I'm trying to own my own school. Right. She wants to elevate with it. So somebody watered that plant. So shout out to Sadaka Jad and Serena Baker, because they've been doing this thing, and they use basketball as a vehicle. SubhanAllah. And we haven't paid a dime for none of that. So shout out to University of Minnesota. Wallahi, because I don't have that type of money. I'm out here like the next man. But anybody that has that type of education, I always compliment them. Like I started out the session by complimenting the brother. And I love him, and he knows that. And not only him, his whole family. Every time I see his mom, I'm like, I feel so indebted to her. I'll be like, wow, And his older brother, one time he took care of me. Like, we were trying to get to a national tournament, and I had these 12, 15 kids in his van. I'm like, man, I can't drive down to St. Louis by myself. I called him, and he got out of his bed, wallahi, and said, "Man, I'm rolling. I got you." SubhanAllah. And this is the faith. So if you don't water it, you're not going to have the faith. You're not going to be able to assist your brother. You're not going to be able to emulate the Prophet. You see? So this is what it has to be nourished.
Definitely. So how can, Brother Ghassan, academics and Deen be balanced?
To me, what you said earlier, which is, and what the brother hit on, which is, there's no conflict. There's no conflict with practicing your way of life and anything else that you do, because it's just that. It's your way of life. That's like saying there's a conflict between me using the bathroom and being a Muslim or practicing Islam. There ain't no conflict. I'm just going to use the bathroom a particular type of way. Yeah. So there ain't no conflict with sports, being a Muslim, academics, none of that. the fact that we're Muslim and we have Islam as a way of life, it teaches us how to engage these things. And what it does, which is really beautiful, it gives us a political context for it. So we understand, when we're Muslims and we're practicing Islam, we understand that education has a purpose. We understand that sports has a purpose. I'm not just out here ripping and running and jumping up and down because I'm trying to get some camera time. I understand that I can't be, part of me being a healthy Muslim is that I can't be running around here out of shape. I got to be in shape. So I might be engaged in sports for the purpose of taking care of my physical body. And so there is no conflict, and there shouldn't even have to be a question around how do we balance, our way of life and these other things, because your way of life is just that. It encompasses every single part of your way of life. So I'm not going to stop being Muslim because I got to go to school. You know what I mean? I'm going to go to school because I'm Muslim. You know what I mean? I'm not going to stop doing any of these things because, and to be honest with you, that's one of the mindsets that we have to switch in our community, is that we orient our children as Muslims with a deficit model. We understand Islam deficit-wise. We don't understand it opportunity-wise. If you ask a child about their religion, the first thing they'll tell you is everything you can't do.
That's true.
Well, as Muslims, we can't do this, and we can't do this, and we can't do this, and we can't. It's about limit. You're limited. So no, we got to reorient our children to understanding Islam in a different way, which is your way of life is the best way of life, which means it offers you opportunities, not deficits. We should be orienting our children to all of the possibilities that happen because you are Muslim. Otherwise, what we do is we think that we have to pick and choose. I can't do sports because I'm trying to be a Muslim. I can't I can't focus in on my academics because I'm trying to get Islamic knowledge. It's no, that has nothing to do with it. So It's around reorienting our children and even ourselves how we understand Islam. That Islam is something that's possibility, opportunity, life enhancing. It's not something that retracts or takes away from your lifestyle.
Definitely. Beautiful. Revelation. Coach, if someone is successful in all three different categories, let's say we have a young Muslim brother, successful in Deen, practicing, successful in sports, great athlete, successful in academics. What do we say about that type of person?
But no, I believe in acknowledging that person. So if somebody finishes the Quran twice and he has tajweed now, we should celebrate that, Islamically. And there's nothing wrong with that. During the time of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to even put Aisha on his shoulders while some of the different tribes are doing their celebration. And so he allowed that to happen in his presence, so it's allowable now. You know what I mean? And so I think for a child now, or a kid, or a youth, or a high school kid, a teenager, we have to give them so much, because if not, they're going to run and do what they do. Right. And I mean run, because the devices out here now, where they're saying stuff like, yo, let's go get lit. What is that? When I was a kid, what that mean? Burning something up? I mean, so I hear that now, I'm like, yo, man, now we got to go pray. Now if they refuse that, then that's, hey, shush, I can only give you reminders. I can't strap you up and put you in the back of the car. Yeah. So, again, we have to acknowledge our youth, reward them in so many ways, acknowledge them. And, again, that's why I like, giving my time to the masjid on the weekends, because when I see kids finish crying, I'm like, man, let me go pop the trunk, give you a T-shirt or whatever you need, Yeah. And speaking of T-shirts, I brought some shirts today.
Beautiful.
Because that's one of the forms that we use to reel the youth in, as a device, as a mechanism to kind of lure them in. Because sometimes we have youth that are not big in basketball, but they can help keep score. Of course. They can help coach. Right. They can be the next Emil Jihad. You never know. So we got to use some sort of halal method to get them in. So we got the halal ball T-shirts. We got the Muslim by Nature T-shirts. We got the little North Face T-shirts. Yeah. So we got a lot of stuff going with that. So we use these little tools to kind of draw them in, inshallah.
Final thoughts and advice. Always maybe the best part of the Brothers Club. But Qasim, what's a final thought and advice that we can give our young brothers and sisters out there in regards to creating that nice fine line of balance?
I would say that, again, just starting with your family, man, orienting yourself to some basic practices in your home. There's no way to have an expectation for a child to do something different than what they learned in their home. So if I've only learned, you know, one thing in my house, and then now I'm coming out into the world and I'm saying I only can do one thing, that's not a problem for the child. That's the responsibility of the family.
Yeah.
And so if we're wanting to have a well-balanced child who has a strong self-identity as a Muslim, who practices the religion in its fullness, meaning that they're everywhere that the religion allows us to be, which is all parts of life. If we really want that, then we have to start mirroring it in our homes, which means I can't just be a father who gets up, goes to work, comes back home. I can't just be a mother who sits in the home all day and doesn't, you know what I mean, and just takes care of the child responsibilities. A lot of our fathers, a lot of our mothers have strengths, talents, and abilities that they have to bring outside of their home. So number one, the child can see, oh, like a Muslim is not just what I do in my home, it's what I do outside of my home. And so they start to see the multifaceted nature that parents have, which is I do everything. I don't just do one thing, I do it all. I'm here for you at your school, I'm supporting you with your academics. I go out and get money and I provide for you. But I'm going to go jump on the trampoline with you too and have some fun. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, start with our homes, man, and show that solidarity and the things that parents are actually doing behind the scenes that sometimes we don't talk to our children about.
Definitely. Coach, final advice and thoughts?
Again, going back to how we started, know yourself. Know that you are a proud Muslim. And be proud of that. There's nothing to hide our Deen for. We're living in a time now where, you know, Donald Trump is the president. You know, and who is Trump? You know, we should take the attitude that Faraon was way worse than him. Yeah. He was burying babies alive. Right. So who is Trump? Yeah. And Faraon went down in history as the worst tyrant, oppressor of Islam. So who is Trump? You know, one brother had told me, like, we should just go on and live our lives as usual. Because this guy has no bearing. Has no bearing. He can't do nothing that Allah has not already ordained. This is a qadr of Allah. Of course. And so my advice to the youth, again, be yourself. Know yourself. Because if you know yourself, you know Allah. Know your original self, how you came into this world. Free of all sin. No riba, all of that. Because Allah is all good. So know yourself.
Beautiful, beautiful advice. I also want to say we appreciate having you guys here today. Absolutely. Definitely, we got to get you guys back on the show. We'll give you a month off.
and before I forget, subhanAllah, we brought some shirts. MashaAllah.
He stay with us.
We got to put that out there, inshaAllah.
Oh, man.
Muslim Tayyib. Oh, beautiful.
Oh, yeah, he got me the... Yeah, I remember that old school bat too.
Yeah. So that's the baseball team. No oppression. SubhanAllah. So this is something that, if you could just hold them up for the audience.
Oh yeah.
This is something that we do for the youth, inshallah. And if anybody needs that stuff, just get at me, halalbro@comcast.net, and just shoot me your size or whatever, and we'll take care of you. There might be a small fee that will go back into the program, inshallah. But we got a lot of shirts and much more than this. We have the Halal Bro t-shirts as well. I mean the Halal Ball. So and then we have a tournament coming up this weekend as well for the Eid tournament celebration where we want to acknowledge the youth. That's going to be going on all weekend at Dalfruit, 8201 Park Avenue, Bloomington, Minnesota. So come out and support us. And it's free.
Beautiful, beautiful. So if you just got the message, make sure you get out there, and we'll maybe Coach, you can send me the link to the website, and we'll leave it in the description notes. Definitely watch the TED Talk on Brother Qasim's on educational injustice, correct?
Yeah, educational injustice.
Yeah, beautiful talk. Just watched it a few days ago, and we want to say Jazakumullahu khairan to the brothers for all of your efforts and everything you do in the community. Keep up the good work, and try to, every 2 months, try to come down to the Brothers Club for one episode. I know it's been tough getting you guys here. You guys got so many things going on. I heard you flying out. And you guys created the time to come out here on a Friday, busiest day of the week. So we definitely we're going to be grateful for that. So make dua for the brothers, make dua for your brother Najib here, and we'll keep it at that. Till next time, wassalamu ala man ittaba al-huda.
بإسلامي وإيماني أضاء الكون وزمن بإسلامي وإيماني أضاء الكون وزمن